Welcome, everyone. It is Angelo Robles. I am back. Shockingly, some of you actually missed me. So I did note it on my last live, but where was I the last 11 or 12 days? I've been traveling. I've been putting on my suit and tie. And no, I wasn't born in a suit and tie like some of you said. It seems like I'm always wearing it. I've been traveling. I've been invited to keynote to speak at conferences in New York and LA. So the LA was a pretty big trip. Had a great time, met with some old friends who I haven't seen in a while, and met many, many new people. And the topic of my discussions in both New York and in Los Angeles, my open keynote, only had 20 minutes, but I made the best of it, is sovereign risk and disaster preparedness for billionaires or those that want to be, which is among my life's work in my master classes that is different than what many of you are used to seeing or learning about in the world of billionaires' wealth and family offices. And as I noted in the past, that comes from a significant consulting assignment I had with one of the wealthiest people on earth. So that was a lot of fun. But I am back. It's great to be back in the studio. Been very, very busy leading up to the launch of so I'm founder and CEO at Family Office Masterclass, which I'm really excited about. And you're primarily watching this through my marketing and branding arm at my ownership and founder and CEO of Family Office TV. So right now, that's all housed under one hub at angelorobles.com. So you can reach out to me there. And please do follow me on all my social media platforms. And I'm active on all. And don't forget, I have two on YouTube, my more significant at Family Office, which I've had for many years and has a significant following, and my new on YouTube, Family Office TV. So if you're not following, begin to. But it's great to be back. Love to be on stage with all of you and hopefully have a little something to share. So yeah, I went a little clickbaity in the title, but it's legit. Should family office executives be replaced by AI? It's meant to be a little hyperbole. It's meant to be a little over the top. And I'd keep an eye on the word should. So I could have replaced should family office executives be replaced by AI. I could have used the word could. So the answer is could, or another title, could family office executives be replaced by AI as well as should? To some degree, it's a matter of time. I had thank you, Adam. And Adam posed he's one of the great thought leaders in the community. I appreciate his friendship and learning from him over the years and his great content on LinkedIn and other platforms. But there is a difference between should and could. But I purposely ran a little bit with the word should. Now, I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to have a twist to the answer that probably is going to focus on a title in the family office that you don't expect. And it's pretty high up the food chain. And the answer, I'm beating myself a little to the punch, is that C-level position, which is not one you're thinking of, we'll get to it in about 5 minutes, absolutely could be replaced by AI. You all likely heard of AI over the years. It became more to the forefront in November of last year, not even a year, with ChatGPT, the advancements in that, in GPT-4, in Bard, and other platforms. And yes, I do have let's call it a pretty significant insider at Microsoft. Some work I've done over the years creating family offices for some of their executives. And again, many of you know me as being the longtime founder and chairman at Family Office Association. But I'm really excited about the educational platform that I'm launching that's kind of in beta now, Family Office Masterclass. There's nothing else like it, and I'm really excited about it. But from what my person, who's very high up, tells me in the organization is like, wow, they're like shocked about how fast it's advancing to be more than LLM, but kind of true, I guess you could say, generative AI. So it hasn't even been a year. It hasn't been a year. Have you learned about it? Are you experimenting with it? Are you becoming a prompting expert? You have to. I'm old and I'm doing it. If you don't, you're going to get replaced. because the world is changing ever so rapidly. We've been talking about AI for so long, but it seems like it was a little stuck. And then boom, the hockey stick, and now it's going up. I think it's something that we have to be very, very aware of as a wealth creator, as a younger inheritor, as an executive in the community, and those that service the community. So, where that question in today's title came up from is I had a little mini 1 day beta masterclass on creating or reimagining a family office. And after I did a more traditional lecturing and case study and program in the morning, kind of the part during lunch, it's, let's come up with creative ideas. Come up to me, what's your biggest problem? Could me and my dream team, my 2 or 3 guests I had on with me, quote unquote, help to solve it? So one person who was a participant, damn, he went genius mode. Now, there was some other great questions as well. We could save them for a future live. But basically it was this: Angelo, I know one of your 3 master classes. I went on angelorobles.com. It's family offices and AI. Yeah, like things are changing. So should family office executives be replaced by AI? So this was really interesting to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first give you a little bit of context. So, and you're going to hear me repeat this phrase over and over for years to come, because I think it's so important to understand. In an industry that is vanilla, that is not creative, and actually not really that good on critical thinking and deep thinking on a lot of issues, it's very generic. We're going to get a little bit to that. But here's what I want you to remember. The path that leads, and I have notes, so for a change, I'm a little bit staying on topic. The paths that lead to new ideas in the family office community tend to look unpromising. Let me say that again, and really it applies to anything. The paths that lead to new ideas in the family office community tend to look unpromising. If they look promising, others would have already explored them. We got 9 billion people in the world. I'd like to hope some smart people. The community has been around, relatively a long time. So great ideas are going to come from not looking so great. And what's the reality? How can I say this? Most of the crazy ideas that are so far out of the box that could change the dynamic and be amazing, the reality is most of them are going to fall flat. Like investing in, deep tech and AI as a VC, and they're the professionals, just like I hope I'm the professional in the single family office community, and they strike out a lot. Like, welcome. This is kind of how the world works. I'm looking at some of the comments coming in. Robert Rackers, thank you so much. Thank you. I am enjoying my double-breasted suit. I do like purple and lavender, so you're getting the purple tie today. Lots of interesting things, probably more feedback than I'm used to getting. I do super chats on YouTube, so feel free. I'll keep a little bit of an extra eye on that. So be bold. Again, the paths that lead to new ideas in the family office, of course, they tend to look unpromising. Every idea. Do you think that what Zuckerberg and others were doing decades ago, everyone would have been doing it if it was so obvious? So back a little bit to the high horse in the family office world. Whenever I hear people discuss the family office community, why do they always and only, it's all about deals, it's about deals, it's about direct deals, it's about investing? I get it. It is more sexy. I'm an investment guy too. I hear you. But to think that the family office community comes down to only investing, you are an idiot. That is so not true. Maybe that's all you know. So you don't know what you don't know. That's all you know. Now, then what they then do is the other side, the more softer family dynamics, family governance. Yeah, a lot of them are nerds. A lot of them are the college professors that on the side do the family governance, the family constitutions. And that is really important. But like they're both too extreme and they're both kind of wrong in their own silo. So of course investments are important. Of course direct deals even help to teach the young generation how business works, how the world works, all of that, very, very important. Yes, someone noted, I did forget my white pocket square. I feel a little bit naked without it, but maybe it's a little more streamlined without the James Bond pocket square. Why are we getting into all this fashion talk today? Hopefully I didn't lose some sense of humor in the last 11 days. But I'm tired of it. No, just because you know about direct deals and that's all you care about does not make you a family office expert. I pride myself having done this for decades, being well-rounded, knowing the billionaires, knowing over 1,000 combined, whatever, super rich families, SFO executives. We need to think deeper. We need way more critical thinking. We need to solve problems. We need creative explorations in an industry that I think, and I know I was a part of the problem, is lacking in all three. I'm just sick and tired. For those of you that only care about investments, that is fine. It is important. It has an anchor role. It probably makes it into the top 3 among the hundreds of things that a family office could be concerned about. I hear you. And it is sexy. Lovely. The people like to talk about how I could get, of course, 500 basis points above a beta and an average, and I'm doing well because I'm such a great investor. And that is awesome. But the family office community is far, far more than that. I care about high IQ, solving problems, creating opportunities, and exploring things down a different path around best practices that effectively, I don't know, like no one's really doing it. So the comment that I promised I would get to 5 minutes ago, it took me, 8 minutes. Perhaps the role of the family office CEO, the head. Some families call it the executive director, some call it the president. Let's broadly go with the word CEO. Perhaps the role of the family office CEO is the first one to get replaced by AI. Maybe it's not going to be the more blue-collar jobs. Maybe it's not even going to be some of the other nuances in the family office. Now, yeah, that's a profound statement, and it's meant to get your attention. Is it just a touch tongue-in-cheek? Just a touch, and we're not there yet. Remember, this really kind of blew up AI not even a year ago. 6 months ago, go on YouTube on my @Family Office, listen to my 2.5 hours with Dr. Craig Kaplan. And even now, 6 to 7 months later, it's a little dated, but it's pretty darn good. And I have a lot more coming up, and I got a masterclass dedicated to family offices and AI in January. And we're going to start to digitalize them more and have even a weekly program that's whatever, 7 to 9 at night on Mondays. And that's going to be recorded, but you could be interactive, you could be digital. We're again in beta, and we're going to be rocking with this sooner rather than later. But that is the one that's going to be, speaking of investing, that is going to be about how you can likely make a lot of money still investing in AI. But the heart of it is going to be more on enhancements and operational efficiencies within the family office. And let's call it job security for the executive or those that want to work in a family office. Okay, so why the CEO? And part of this comes down to the work we did in that beta masterclass and a little bit of the writing that participant shared from Ed Citron, who's the CEO of EasyPR. So kudos to him. An AI model would likely give quicker answers, be in a continual state of self-improvement. Of course, most SFO CEOs are not. Take feedback instantly. Good luck with most CEOs. And deliver the same kind of operational efficiency for which the current crop of CEOs is often paid millions of dollars a year. Most of the time is spent in meetings talking about strategy and making big calls, which are important. I could debate whether they're doing that good of a job at that, rather than contributing meaningfully to the organization through experience or actual, execution. Execution still matters. Is it the job of the CEO simply to take data and regurgitate it and deliver it efficiently? Well, I could think of no more role that could and should be replaced by AI. So let's take a little bit of a step back. I'm going to talk slightly out of both sides of my mouth because many of you heard one of the lives I did about a month ago and some of the work that I've done on best practices. Broadly, I've been saying SFOs have been too qualitative. They need to get more quantitative. And as the great, and I do think he's great, the great Peter Drucker would talk about how if you can't measure, you can't really improve. So using big data, using statistics is very, very important. And most SFOs suck at that. They're not good. They need to know more. They need to get better. They need to quantify results, and they need to make better, process better information and make better decisions. They get too caught up in outcome bias. I think that's what I might have titled it. And it's complicated, but they have to get more quantitative. But ironically, from what I just said, if they're like 99% quantitative, they're probably not as good as a machine. Broadly AI. I thought it would be a little more colorful to say the word machine. Colonel Boyd, people, machines, and something like the big three, was a military genius here in the US. But there was the word family and family office. We're going to dive a little bit into other things than investments that are important and areas where AI is going to have a harder time even as it evolves until one day it hits singularity. Then we're likely all in trouble. And according to Kurzweil, the legend himself, that could happen as soon as 2030. And again, things, if you listen to my Craig Kaplan, things are happening, boom, they're going like that. On strictly rote memorization, a human has no chance to compare to AI that may literally be millions from a rote perspective, memory of existing data points, processing and outputting, maybe millions of times smarter in that way than quote unquote an average human. I mean, my God, 25 years ago, it surpassed the best of the best in chess. And that does take a level, although there's rules and a finite number of moves, but takes some level of critical thinking and decision making. So I'd like to hope it's gotten better. And obviously it has in the last 25 years. Forget 25 years out. Yeah, you were probably doomed then. But just in the next year to 3 years at the most, the advancements are going to be staggering. And if you're a bit older, and I hear you, brother and sister, I'm kind of in that same bracket. Like, this is really concerning. You're gonna become outdated. Why don't family offices last more than 15 years? Because you're not competent enough. You have blind spots that you're not identifying, and you're not moving ego aside. You're not constantly learning, and you're not adapting. I'm just giving it to you straight up. Who's been in more single family offices than me? I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've said this before. Most, at best, are like the 12th man on an NBA team. They got to get into the 8-man rotation or 8-woman rotation, of course, then the starting 5, then an all-star, and then maybe they could be a LeBron James, a top quote-unquote 1%. To be the real LeBron James and to play a sport, you have to have such innate skill that, and then you have to work incredibly hard, have great coaches. Everything's got to work out perfectly, but you got to have that inside you. I got good news for you, SFO executives. It's a lot easier to be great being an SFO executive than it is to be the LeBron James of the NBA. You do not need to have that level of inherent talent. Could I make you maybe a little bit more than the average IQ? And then could you just, again, be competent, identify blind spots, move ego aside, modernize yourself, be a constant learner, and adapt? Because what worked, my God, maybe even last week, just the world is changing. It may not work at the moment. So a CEO should be someone who has an active role, well, he argued, in the profit generation of the business. Now, if you follow Lender versus the IRS and setting up structures in the US as a single family office and getting greater tax deductibility, then technically you are setting it up as theoretically, quote unquote, a for-profit. But again, we know that gets a little complicated. But you want to have an active role in building the company, closing deals and partnerships that will generate said revenue. So are many CEOs overrated? Now, I know when I pose this question, broadly speaking, on the subject of the title today, many of you, I wouldn't use the word we're defensive, but no, of course, AI is not going to replace me. And remember that statement that I made earlier until the person brought up this question in the masterclass. And I could have been like, dude, I know I forgot this morning everything that you know in the family office world, but that would be a bad attitude for me to have. So him bringing up that question caused me to be defensive initially and then to think and say this needs to be explored, and not just 25 years ago, but now. So his question was genius. I learned so much from my participants, often maybe more than they learned from me. So that's the great thing about if you're good at moderating and curating content, you're lecturing, you're bringing in experts, you're doing case studies, but you're getting the best out of them that you're learning from to make you better at what you do. And you're helping them to some degree answer their own question by thinking about it differently, or the peers that are part of that group. And that's something I've been doing for a long, long time and have a little bit of experience with. So again, would I be concerned at this very second? No, as a C-level executive or a CEO, but to realize that you got to keep on learning. You're probably not competent enough yet, but you could be. Be the best version of yourself. Don't just be who you are now. And I feel this way. It's not good enough. You got to be the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself, it's probably pretty effing great. It's probably pretty effing great. But you got to become that. Competent, realize your blind spots, move ego aside, like Dalio said. Realize that you better learn about AI, that it's changing rapidly. Immerse yourself, pay money to learn. Put that damn ego aside. People could teach you things that could accelerate your knowledge, greatly increase your job security. How hard is it to get a job in an SFO? It's pretty damn hard. And when you lose it, it may not be easy on you, depending on your age and your point in the career, to get in that kind of a position again. Those of you that want to work in an SFO, how are you going to distinguish yourself? How are you going to stand out? But I was getting back to the irony, because I talk about how family offices need to be more quantitative. Definitely true. But if it's only as the CEO a quantitative position, AI eventually, and the eventually is like we're just about there, can kind of kick your ass. So never forget the qualitative parts of communicating, of listening, of solving problems, of thinking critically, of emotional intelligence. All these things are very, very important. Eventually, the CIO, the CFO, all these roles are going to be threatened to some degree by AI, let alone the CEO. Polymath, diverse skills, how to use the technology to your advantage, how to communicate with family, how to make sure that the family and family office, the qualitative part still applies. And again, do you want to be great, or do you just want to be the 12th man at the bench, resting on laurels and be happy with that? Educate the family. That is a role the SFO should be very focused on. The CEO should in some ways be acting as a chief learning officer. Read the great work of the legend himself, Matt Wesley, one of my good friends in the community. He will come on the show sometime soon, I promised. He is a whirlwind of knowledge. The biggest risk to the family is the family, of course. How much time as an SFO executive, especially in a leadership position, do you spend on the most common problem broadly in the family? Is going to be the family. It's going to be the generations, the lack of education, the lack of what the family principal wants, which likely is continuity in the family. I'm going to be having someone on later in the year. I'm not sure if he wants me to name his name, but he's an executive in a very prominent family office. The average family office is like 60% focused on money issues, 30% on, let's broadly call it legal and accounting, and 10% on family issues. And I think that's probably being a little generous Oftentimes it's zero on family issues, yet it's a family office. And that's where a lot of the challenges to generational wealth and the family office sustaining through the generations is going to lie. There needs to be competency. So that relates to intra-family competency, including literally the family and the executive, and to some degree, family continuity. And I know I'm getting a little stretched out over what the core topic is. Outside the family competency, which we have very, very little control over, although a billionaire family with some influence in their philanthropic and other initiatives and spreading the good word could help a little bit on that. But for the most part, you're going to be a little bit more hand-tied. You need to be adaptable. You need critical and creative thinking. And you need to have a team around you of talented people that could be a resource. What I would say in my role as an educator, teacher, consigliere, am I the only one? No. Am I confident in my capability? Sure. And I still want to learn more and have a long way to go. Be careful with that CEO and president, the arrogance that could sometimes seep in. And I know it could be tempting because you've had a level of success, you've accomplished things, you've solved problems, but that's no guarantee that's going to happen tomorrow. And again, there's just some things that AI could do better, like right now. Imagine a year or two from now. So stay tuned. I'll have Dr. Craig Kaplan back. I'll have others, and them and others will be involved in my multi-day, both in-person and digital masterclass that you could all learn more about at angelorobles.com. You could reach out and book an appointment with me on the phone, on Zoom. I'm always happy to connect. As you can probably hear in my voice, it hasn't changed in the 11 or so days I've been gone. It got amplified, if anything, with travel across the country and meeting amazing families and people that service the community. I look forward to being of value to all of you. And I think you all have something amazing to bring that I could learn as well. So that opportunity that we can learn together. And yes, it's a company, a real company, Family Office Masterclass. So what a surprise. It is a premium in terms of what I'm charging, but it's an opportunity to be involved and hopefully for that to provide tremendous value to you in a very opaque and somewhat complex industry that is changing so rapidly. And like I said earlier, I promise you, the family office community is a hell of a lot more than only about investing in direct deals. Really, it's about family continuity, competency, solving problems, and engaging and educating the family. I'm going to take a little bit of a look at some of the questions. Most of them were comments and all good ones. I appreciate all of you. Natasha, I see, and Adam. My thoughts, SFO executives absolutely cannot be replaced, but they should use AI. I hear you, Natasha. And again, that was my initial reaction as well. At least know about it, know how to use it, and do better at your job. Yeah, of course. And that goes back to, again, having things be more quantifiable. But be really careful of that perception. No, I cannot be replaced. One, you may be replaced by another human who simply is more competent and better. That is possible. And better's qualitative. Part of that depends on communication, what the goals of the families are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But be a little edgy. Who was it in Silicon Valley? Was it Andy Grove? Like, always be a little paranoid? Like, I think that's a pretty good approach, but work with it, maximize it, but don't lose the qualitative angle of communication. And these young ones now, these Gen Zs coming up in the family and younger millennials, I'm telling you, they're interesting. There's good and there's bad, but you got to be able to identify, relate to them, to listen to them, and have somewhat of a modern approach to how they think that things are going to be done. Adam, maybe families merge and leverage technology. Yeah, I mean, yes. Do I do think there's going to be single family offices coming together informally and formally, theoretically creating an MFO? I did an interview with Jamie McLaughlin. Sorry, it's not released yet. We have some extra audio that we have to get up to snuff on that. There was some bad connections, but those are all going to be important topics as well. Another question, do you think AI will replace coders in the near future? One, I don't really know enough about coding to give a solidified answer to that, but I kind of did ask Dr. Kaplan and others that, and the short answer was kind of. So yes. So, we all thought, what, 5 years ago that it was going to be, Uber and truck drivers, and eventually that will happen, but that employs the most common profession, I think, for a blue collar male is driving. Was it $3 to $5 million people, 3 to 5 million people, and often a decent for quote unquote blue collar income. Therefore, that would be a major impact on the economy. Displaced people, when people are displaced and feel no hope and despair, especially historically younger men, that leads to problems, big, big problems. So we have big issues in this country, in the West, and around the world. We have more questions than we have answers. This relates a little bit to the work I do on sovereign risk and disaster preparedness, including what could be civil unrest, including things like AI, the positive and the negative, and potentially one day needing, hard for a libertarian to say, but we may need some sort of universal base income. Otherwise, again, there's more have-nots than haves. They're going to always win in the voting, assuming the voting is not rigged, and could be problems. When people don't have Maslow's hierarchy of shelter and of food, big problems occur. Now, on the other hand, and this is more of a political and society type question, does that just appease people? Then they have no hunger, no thirst. They're not going out there creating new things because we're just satisfying their basic shelter and their basic food. We're the government. We're going to take care of you. Here's some crumbs. You're not going to quote unquote be homeless, but you're not going to be great either. Like, that's not a life, at least not to me. Let's see. Was there other questions? You could keep them coming in before I staff. As to staff and activities, perhaps wealth management. Adam, you always ask such good questions. You're such a deep thinker. And I probably learn more from you, certainly, than you learn from me. But that's all good. I guess I get the advantage in that exchange. And yeah, there is no easy answer. Maybe what I could say relative to how we think AI is likely going to play out, it's probably going to be contrarian and it's going to not happen the way that we think. It may happen quicker. It may take longer. It may be worse. It may be better. But be prepared. Be prepared as a family, as an executive, and those that service the community. Educate yourself. No, that is probably the number one thing that, again, when I interviewed Michael Saylor and other billionaires and deep thinkers and Harvard and MIT grads, think for yourself. Because a lot of what you learn has a spin to it. There's a motivation, and it might have been how the world worked a year ago or 10 years ago. It's not how it works now. Another comment or question, you make pretty fair point, in my opinion. AI replace and take jobs, but at the same time, raise potential. Yes, AI, given the slowing GDP, given some of the challenges we're having around the world, including geopolitical and economic, I could make the positive argument that as energy costs potentially come down and down, and AI has a positive impact on productivity and humanity, that it could solve some of the problems that we're having out there, and there's lots of them. So you don't have to take the negative perspective. I rather know about the negative, and I'm a bit of a worrywart, so that's no problem with me. But I also want to be surrounded by people who think out of the box, are creative, and have more optimism. To think that AI could be controlled, foolish. There's going to be one person, one rogue somewhere out there in the world. Ooh, look at the US. They're really controlling their AI. We're going to go bat crazy and create this and create that. We would be destroyed very quickly, I might add. So that is a little scary. There's not great answers here. When I talk with families, I had one family that hired me and wanted, I'm not making this up, like 1,000-year family continuity plan. No, I'm not sure what's going to happen next week. I think I could put some hedges and mitigate certain financial risk and other risk, some of them systemic, governmental, civil unrest, diversity. And I got strategies that I do, and I would prefer not to really discuss them in more of an open forum, and also people have paid a lot of money for that. Uh, yes, helping the blind and others. So now I could get into longevity and extending life. Is that good? Is that bad? Extending life, I guess, is always good. And is AI going to team up with what, genomics and gene editing? But most people haven't saved enough money. And how are we going to support them? Is that going to be extra stresses on the planet, on the family, on the transition of money? Like that's a big topic. That's another topic we could just dive into solely on that. Yeah, I hear you, Sam Kit. I hear you. Like, basically, I think they're saying it's not possible to replace. Like, don't say that. You are replaceable. I am replaceable by humans at the moment. And to think that's never going to happen with AI, like, I don't get like how you would feel that way. Do you think the best chess player in the world 26 years ago, before whatever, what was it, Kasparov? I dabbled a bit in chess. Probably felt that way too. Then it kicked his butt. The word CEO sounds arrogant. I mean, I know I do use that. So I'm the longtime founder, I guess you could say chairman and CEO at Family Office Association. I sold my interest earlier this year, took a little time off to travel, to meet with people, to buy a new tie or two, and created, given my role and my legacy and my passion in the single family office community, created multiple companies, primarily Family Office TV, and follow me on all social platforms. And my real love, which is educating on an opaque industry, I own Family Office Masterclass. And again, if you go to angelorobles.com, and I'll have separate websites for each of the other two well before the end of the year. But for now, everything is kind of housed under that. But I do think that has an overly arrogant tone. I mean, I'm also the dishwasher. I sweep up, like I do whatever I need to do, which in some ways perhaps really is the role of a CEO. They do what they need to do to survive, then to thrive, to make an impact, and to be great. So I kind of do everything. I'll give it maybe one more minute if there's some other questions coming in. But this has been great. Hopefully I caused you all to think a little differently. I get it. You may not have liked what I had to say. You might have felt it was delivered with a little bit of hyperbole, probably some level of truth to that. But again, in this family office world, where I'd like to hope that I have some pretty good insight, having been in it for so long and thinking myself as a pretty critical and deep thinker, it's way more than just, again, direct deals and investing. You're now getting immersed a little bit more from my lives and the content that I give out for free into deeper issues in the family office world that I don't think you're hearing about. Don't be dissuaded by the noise, the complexities, like jump right in. I'm not the only one who wrote a book. I think Richard Wilson's book in family offices, Kirby Rossblock, I've enjoyed their books. I've enjoyed knowing them. I've learned again from everyone. Yet am confident in my specific capability on creating or reimagining a family office, best practices, sovereign risk, and family offices and AI. And really among my favorite things, like I did in the mini beta digital that I noted, is it's not just lecturing and bringing in a dream team of experts. It's what is your problem? What is it at the moment? And how can we all learn from it, address it, and give our best shot in terms of trying to decipher it and give you an answer to it, like live and at the moment. And I love that kind of deep critical thinking, even when I'm wrong. I'm looking for, might be a couple of more questions. AI has no consciousness. How could this ever replace the family office heartfelt care for an individual? Good question. It likely will, depending on how you factor singularity. Again, I said Ray Kurzweil, the legendary futurist, believes in a couple of more years. Others Others admittingly have said it may never, or have said it may take 100 years. I don't know. Maybe it is never. But is it possible that singularity happens? Okay, what could I say about this without giving away too much? What my Microsoft contact that I mentioned earlier, and trust me when I say it's very, very high up, they're shocked by what they're learning and how it's evolving. And I probably already said too much. I may get a knock on the door. I should be careful. I have enough problems being a little bit of the bad boy of the single family office world. So I should be a little careful. Don't be so quick to assume that. Now, I did say, though, don't forget the qualitative aspect, the communication, the educating the family, the active listening, all the warmth and empathy that as humans we do have. I'm hearing you. I get you. I'm just saying, don't be too strident one way or the other. This is going to sneak up on you and you're not going to be prepared. Again, I'm going through some other questions. Adam with, of course, the most serious question of the day. Is the beard real or not? Yes, I've had a beard for like 14 months. This is probably about the longest that it's been. I travel. I couldn't go to a barber, I guess, or I didn't trust an outside barber. It could use a little bit of a trim up, but I don't know. I'm kind of liking the Grizzly Adams vibe. Although Adam, me, and you are probably the only ones old enough to know that reference. It's more of a 1970s thing. Was it Dan Haggerty? But yes, in case you're wondering, it wasn't quite with the suit and tie on. This has happened to me before, but in LA, are you Dan Bilzerian? But like you look older and not as good looking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting insulted left and right. But I think Dan Bilzerian's cool. He probably copied me on the beard. Come on. But he is a little better looking than me. Oh well, I'm a couple of inches taller than him though. Adam, you're on fine. You're doing your fine work today. I appreciate that. I'm taking a last look at questions. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I don't know. What kind of question is that? Am I the only person in the family office world with a notable beard? Yeah, like I probably am. Maybe I am a little bit of a showman and I like that, and that's a little bit of my calling card. I do like to be contrarian. I do think differently. I'm a little in a very vanilla industry. I probably am not too vanilla. 10 years ago, I probably was, and many of you thought that, but now I'm surprising you all a little bit. But what I really, really like is the deep intellectual stuff, the things that we're talking about today, the varying opinions, and how much I could learn from all of you. So it's great to be back in the lives. Reach out to me. Follow all my social media. Of course, go to angelorobles.com. It's not great. It's a newbie site, but it'll give you some context to what I'm doing and ways that you could book a call and reach out to me. That is super, super easy. Or just email me direct, angelo@angelorobles.com. Hell, my phone number, why not? 203-570-2898. Yes, the same number on WhatsApp. I'm very international, so that's all good for me. And I live and breathe 24/7 single family offices. This is me. This is what I do. This is not a part-time job. It's not a side gig. This is my love. This is my passion. And hopefully I have something to offer. I have done some more media interviews lately. So some of you saw the one in Cranes. I did one with David Bain at Family Capital. I think that may come out tomorrow, otherwise next week. And I did one with a young man who asked me 23 questions, Ryan Austin. He might even be on the stream. I believe that will be released next week. And that's probably the longest form written interview that I've ever done, ever in my near 20 years. So Ryan asked great questions. I'll probably be doing, I'm doing a video interview with Sean Carroll, with the before mentioned David Bain at Family Capital sometime in the fall. So more coming up. I hope to do some work with the one and only, the great April Rudin. So shout out to April. Her stuff is always great. Always been a big fan. I think we broadly started around the same time. So we have that little bit of a bond. That's always good. So yeah, now that I'm more out there, sharing a little bit of my quirky and unique thoughts, hopefully providing some value in the community. And I think on that note, the questions have stopped. Thank you all for the comments and questions. I hope you enjoyed it. Reach out to me, and I am sure on also 3 to 4 hours notice, I'm sorry about that, to do another live, obviously next week. And I don't know, I'm feeling maybe a Saturday this week. I sometimes like to do things on the weekends. Would you be okay if I don't have the tie on though, like on a Saturday? Thank you all so much. Hope you enjoyed it.